The first one I want to touch upon then is phonology, which is the first one in terms of language's form. And this is, if you think of the morpheme, phone, right? You can think of sound, right? Telephone. It's all about sound system. So phonology is the study of a language's sound system. It includes rules for how we structure sounds, some of the distinctive features that go into making up a sound, as well as how we can combine and sequence sounds together. So in our language, there are certain sound combinations that are permissible, other sound combinations that aren't permissible. Phonemes themselves that are the pieces, kind of the workable units. They're the smallest unit of sound that distinguishes one word from another. So one thing that you should be learning about as you work through that chapter, we can produce sounds in different ways, and they're not always unique phonemes. You came across the term allophone as you worked through this lesson. And allophones are different pronunciations of a sound, but that don't change the word's underlying meaning. Phonemes themselves distinguish one word from another. The phoneme itself is meaningless, but if I take that phoneme, switch it out for another phoneme, the meaning of the word would change. Okay? So take, for example, if I had a word like I have the at, and I put the phoneme in there, right? The phoneme. So I get pat, a unique word. What if I switch this phoneme out with Are two unique phonemes in our language? Sure. In and of themselves, the sounds are meaningless, but when you combine them with other sounds, it changes word meaning. Now, what if you put the sound, when we say, hold your hand up to your mouth and say pat, pat. Do you feel the air that's produced on the, now I want you to do it, but try and swallow that air, go pat, pat, okay? Did you feel how you didn't have as much hot air blowing? Is that a unique phoneme when I say pat and pat, is that a unique phoneme? It's not. But do you see how the sound pronunciation is different? Okay? So with air and without air are what we call allophones. They're two different variants in production, but they don't change the meaning. In some languages, like Thai, aspirating or producing sounds with air changes the meaning of the word. It's just not that case in our particular language. So now, are phonemes simply letters?
No.
No, they're not. They're not letters. And this is a huge point, a big point to think about. We can't just count letters when we're counting phonemes, right? And there's a reason for that. We can have the same letter combination, like TH and thin, and TH and that. If you say thin and put your hands on your neck, thin, and then say that. Do you see how you produce the first TH sound without any voice, any vibration? Thin, thin. And you can draw it out so you don't get the voicing on the vowel. Thin. But then say that, that. You have voicing on and that. You don't have voicing in thin. So these are actually two different sounds, but they're represented with the same orthographic symbol, or same letter. By that same token, we can have the same sound represented by different orthographic symbols. So, phone, fox. Okay, so there's not a one-to-one correspondence. Sometimes you notice that, oh, with the International Phonetic Alphabet, it looks a lot like the letter, okay? But that's not always the case. So you have syllable structure, and I mentioned this earlier. It's how we configure or build phonemes together. And in each language, we have a limited number of ways in which we can put sounds together into syllables, right? What makes up the meat of a syllable? It's the vowel, right? So some syllables can just be a vowel. Other syllables have consonants attached to that vowel, either before or after. A very common syllable structure in English, very basic syllable structure, is a consonant, vowel, consonant. So can somebody give me an example of a word that follows a CVC syllable structure?
Cat.
Cat, perfect. K, consonant, a, vowel, t, consonant. Okay? Now we have much more complex syllable structures. We have words in our language like string, right? Where string, what would be the syllable structure of string? What's
Consonant.
consonant?
Consonant.
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 Consonant. I.
Vowel.
Consonant. So we have 3 consonants at the beginning of that word together.